This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Our today meeting is gonna be with special guys, with Mr. Andrew. Nice to meet you, Andrew.
Nice to meet you guys as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, he's from United States, from Los Angeles. He's a senior technical executive at Dassault Systèmes. So our topic today is gonna be personalizing the platform for maximum productivity. Sorry for that. So if you guys have any question, feel free to ask at the end of the meeting. So I will leave it to you. Let me stop my screen share.
All right. Thanks
okay,
again.
let me set you a presenter. Here we go.
Okay, perfect. Excellent, excellent. So let me know if you can see that all right.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Perfect, wonderful. So thanks again, guys, for having me. Really appreciate the invitation to, share my knowledge and experience with my fellow SolidWorks users. Although I will admit I've been a bit more removed from the day-to-day usage than I used to be. And I've got 3D Experience World up here because this was actually a hands-on workshop I was originally supposed to do for World, in person this year, but unfortunately, due to the world situation, we had to cancel the in-person. So I was super excited when Mohammed reached out to me and asked if I could, share the content that I had intended to do at World with all of you, because there's some work went into it, and I just think it's very valuable information, especially for those new to the 3D Experience platform. Especially those of us coming from the SolidWorks side of the house. So super happy that I'm able to finally share these insights with all of you and anybody else watching out there in YouTube land or anywhere else. So thanks for this opportunity. I'll just I'll give you a little background on me. So I originally joined Dassault in 2019 as part of the SolidWorks corporate accounts team. Prior to Dassault, I was a product manager at Yamaha Guitar Group, managing digital guitar products and wireless products. And prior to that, I was a systems engineer for the Department of Defense, and that's where I really got into SolidWorks because let me just fast forward to my intro slide here. I forgot to advance that. That's where I brought the whole SolidWorks portfolio into the way we were doing engineering, design, and life cycle and product management at the government. So like some of you on the call, I did the whole PDM implementation. I did training. I used to teach SolidWorks at University of California, San Diego. The whole nine: electrical, PCB, simulation, you name it. If it said SolidWorks, I touched it. But now, being at Dassault since 2019, I've held multiple different roles and had a lot more exposure to our 3D Experience portfolio, particularly focus in the aerospace and defense industry, because that's where I come from. So in kind of learning and exposing myself to that world of 3D Experience, I figured out ways that this can enhance what I was originally doing as an end user of SolidWorks at the government. And a lot of what the 3D Experience platform brings is kind of what I had envisioned in my head at the time when I was a government engineer of like where I wanted things to go. So I'm super happy, to be part of the Dassault team and help see this vision through on how, we can bring these enhanced capabilities to, the already amazing world of everything SolidWorks. So just a little intro on this particular workshop. So this is for everybody, right? It's if you've already been using the platform for a while, I hope you'll pick up some tips and tricks from this, because I've showed these even internally to some colleagues that have been on the platform for a while, and there's always, just like you guys know in SolidWorks, there's 10 different ways to do the same thing. Sometimes when somebody shows you their workflow, you think, oh, I never thought of doing it that way, and you kind of bring it into your toolbox and adapt it. So, if you're brand new to 3D Experience platform, this is a great starting point, because I know it can be very overwhelming when you first, kind of dive into this new world. But yeah, covers if you're a designer, engineer, which I'm sure most of the folks in the user group are. This is perfect for you. If you're, in production or operation, this is great. You could even just be executive or an IT person. Everybody can get something out of this. So the takeaways that I want to cover in here are really getting an experience, and this was again intended to be hands-on, of me watching over people's shoulders, but you guys will have this recording, so if you have access to the 3D Experience platform, you can watch this and follow along with your particular instance. You may have different roles from what we'll show, but the principles, I think, you'll find valuable to apply to whatever roles you have access to. And then, understanding what's the 3D Experience about, what capabilities are available, and then how can you personalize that into your day-to-day productivity. And like you saw on the left-hand side, this applies to pretty much any type of role you could have in an organization. So while I'll cover kind of a general designer type uh, persona, perspective, just take the key concepts and ways of thinking about dashboards and things like that and apply it to your type of position. And then I really just want to give you those tips and tricks on how to efficiently use the platform, and just be, have the maximum effectivity in your day-to-day. So you're not, constantly hunting around for stuff, and you can actually focus on the task at hand. So there's, I gave you a little bit of this background, but that's me. I was also Marine veteran. Uh, um, like I said, SolidWorks instructor. Spent 15 years in the DoD. A lot of that bringing the whole SolidWorks portfolio to there, and everybody just likes this shot. So I just thought I'd throw that out. Yes, that's me in Iraq with a hot pink guitar, because as I mentioned, I work for Yamaha, so I have, you know, it was like marriage of my military background and music background there. So I actually won second place on a photo contest for that and a pair of those speakers. So it was a cool experience. All right, so a lot of people, especially those of you in the SolidWorks community, hear about this thing called 3D Experience. What is it? You know, you're, what do we do with it? So, if you're like me, you came via the way of SolidWorks, introduced to this 3D Experience platform, but really what it is, a capability, if this world, to be able to take anything from a requirements definition standpoint or your initial concept all the way through the whole design process, engineering process, into manufacturing, production, sustainment, really any part of the life cycle. So what it's going to do for all of you SolidWorks users is really just enhance the capabilities that you already have. So you have, the industry leading design tool in your hands, right? And we all know that, even in SolidWorks, it's more than just MCAD. There's so many other capabilities. But what the 3D Experience platform is going to bring is just so much more to be able to, what I think is, it's not just adding tools, but it's adding tools that will allow you to actually focus more on your core job, right? And do it effectively and bring other stakeholders into the process as appropriate. So you're not spending time, you know, sending out PDFs and screenshots and deliverables, right? Everybody can always look at the most current data, the most current views of your 3D models. Everyone's on the same page with the project and the product at hand. So really just keeping the whole team and organization in sync. So again, if you've been to 3D Experience World before, or you've watched any of the webinars on the SolidWorks or YouTube channel, right? You've seen that a bit of the 3D Experience platform, right? So again, it encompasses all these different areas, right? And it seems like it can be overwhelming at first. Like you may think, well, I'm just a designer, so I only need to worry about this part, or I'm just an engineer, or maybe I handle products that are in service, right? So it may seem overwhelming, but just know that whatever your role is, you have there's a place for you in this whole ecosystem. But the reason for me doing this workshop is a lot of people get exposed to 3D Experience and they see something like this. It's got so many capabilities, every app under the sun, right? Like it just can be madness, right? And I'm not one for busy slides, but this is to make the point that it's like, this is how I felt when I got onto the 3D Experience platform. And I'm sure, those of you watching, can sympathize where you're like, yeah, where do I start? What do I do? What what does this even mean, right? Within the whole platform, there's over 450 roles, right? And over 1,000 apps. So it's no doubt overwhelming. But if you guys have been exposed to it yet, or you're even thinking about it, that again, you're only gonna need to get the roles that apply to you and your job. So the way I like to break it down is, a role is just like it sounds, it's a job to do. So if you're a product designer, you'd get a product design role. If you're a manufacturing engineer, you'd get a manufacturing engineer role, right? Within the roles are the apps to do that job. What will help you execute that job? So I just want to focus, I want to reel that all the way in, is like, let's just, for a moment, put a pin in it, forget about the awesome and complex capabilities that exist, in all those different domains. Let's focus on the core apps and roles that everybody's really going to need to use on a day-to-day basis, and start there. And that's where I think we can remove some of the noise and make this feeling of overwhelm feel like it's going to enhance your productivity. Okay, so we're just going to narrow this down again to the bare essentials, right? So when you first get onto the 3D Experience platform, in order to get onto the platform, you need this one core role. Everybody needs it. It's called Collaborative Business Innovator, right? What that gives you are these core capabilities, and we'll talk more about these as we dive in right after this slide. But I just wanted to, give you a sense of it, so as we talk about these things, you're familiar with the terminology, right? So 3D dashboard, which we're going to spend the majority of our time in today, is as you'll see, a dashboarding capability. Search is as it sounds. 6W tags is a way to you utilize the search and refine it using filters. 3D Play is a viewer for 3D objects and other assets. Passport is how you log in to the platform. SWIM stands for See What You Mean, and that's what enables you to have conversations both within groups and one-on-one within different communities as well. That's really where I think I know I spend the majority of my time, and I think most people will spend the majority of their time in. And then space, which is where all the objects get stored, and messaging, which essentially is kind of part of SWIM. That's the direct one-on-one conversations. But like I said, these are the apps you're going to interact with on a daily basis, right? You need to be able to log into the platform. You need to be able to see and find what you need and communicate with people, right? So without further ado, let's dig in here. So let me kill this presentation. Okay. So for those of you on the platform already, this may seem like a little refresher, but again, I want to capture you know, all types of audiences here. So if you've logged into the platform for the first time, you got an email invitation that says, "Hey, welcome. You've been invited to this 3D Experience platform. Click this link. You follow it. Create a 3D Experience ID if you don't have one already, and you log into the platform." So I know when I set up new platforms for customers, I always make this the default, and I'm pretty sure that other instances and other you know, folks that work with customers, this is what you get because it's pretty boilerplate. But if not, you know, feel free to ask your point of contact for it, because I think this is a good kind of starter point for anybody just getting onto the platform for the first time. So this itself is a dashboard, right? And it even says up here, 3D dashboard that we just talked about. It's called My First Dashboard. This is, again, a default one that we make available to everybody. So this first tab, because the dashboard's broken up into 2 tabs, you get this little getting started guide, and it just describes to you a lot of what I just talked about. What are these different core apps that you'll see as you navigate through the platform? Just tells you a little bit about it. But what the real meat of it and the useful part is this tab called Learn the Experience. So in here, you'll find a few very short videos, around 2 minutes each, that actually walk you through each one of these core apps, right? And it directs you to like another getting started guide. There's actually training on this website called 3D Experience EDU. That's eduspace.3ds.com. We can include a link in the description. And that will actually give you training, not just on these core apps, but really any type of role you want. You can get training through that. If you don't see access to the training you need, you can contact your reseller, and they can help guide you to the appropriate resources for training there. But I love that resource. I've used it myself to get up to speed on roles that are new to me. So I think that's a fantastic self-training tool. So this is kind of, I guess, getting you used to understanding what all of these do. But you know, kind of fast forwarding to once you get a handle of that, you're asking, well, now what do I do, you know, with this? So everybody, if you didn't know already, the compass is your kind of main portal into the platform. So when you click on it, and I've got a little filter here, again, it may seem overwhelming. You're like, oh my gosh, where do I even start? There's all this stuff going on. I don't know what to do. Well, let me break it down for you. So I'm just going to collapse these to kind of hide the chaos for a moment so it doesn't feel so overwhelming, and just explain this to you. So within the compass, you have, again, roles. What's my job to do? right? Am I a 3D creator? Am I a collaborative business innovator? Am I someone that plans projects, right? These are jobs to do, right? Then if I click on one of these roles, like 3D creator, for instance, I see a set of apps. Those apps are the tools that enable me to do that job. So for instance, with 3D creator, I have X Design as kind of the main app within that role. So if I click on that, I'll get this app popping up here, or widget of X Design, and I can go ahead and do parametric modeling right here in this web browser on the platform. If you haven't seen it already, there's tons of great videos and tutorials on that. Highly recommend checking it out. It's fantastic, and of course can be used in conjunction with your desktop SolidWorks. So you can actually share designs back and forth, leveraging the power of X Design within your SolidWorks models and vice versa, bringing your SolidWorks data onto the platform and incorporating it with elements from X Design. So this is a fantastic app. But let's say, okay, I'm done with X Design, so I close this out, right? Now you're like, okay, I need to do my next job. So you go and figure out like, all right, I need to work on the project. So I go find Project Planner and, go look at my my project here, right? And let's say I made this one, new spaceship to Mars, just for this purpose. So I go in and I do my project work. Maybe I update some tasks or something, etc., and then I close that out. Well, going back and forth, this is like everybody's used Windows, right? This is like going to the start menu and finding your program in the tree every time. Anybody that's used Windows for any number of years, you don't really do that anymore. There comes a point where you put shortcuts, or you have like shortcut keys, or you just do a little search, right? Kind of same principle applies here. If I know, once I get an idea of like, oh, I keep going to X Design, I know X Design is the app I need, I could even just type in here and just say X Design, right? Did I even spell it right? Yeah, I did. Oh yeah, there we go. So bam, there's my app. And let's just say I didn't have a favorite. Obviously, I've used this before, so I have favorites. But there's the app I want. Boom, right? But after a while, you keep doing this. You're like opening and closing, opening and closing. It's not very productive, right? And we're here to maximize our productivity. So once you get a sense of like, okay, I use X Design all the time, what's the next stage to enhance your productivity? Well, you can do what I did here, which is drag it up to your favorite apps. And I'll just go ahead and remove this so you can see the process. So let's say I use X Design all the time. I want to keep it my favorites. Just drag it up here. Boom. Now I always have it there. So I don't even need to look at the roles anymore, or the slew of apps. I've got all my favorite apps that I use all the time right here at the ready. So this becomes much more efficient, right? Is like, okay, I need to do something. I just go here. It's everything that I use all the time is under my favorites, right? But again, we're going up to the corner, clicking, opening a widget, right? Still not the most productive use of your mouse clicks and your movement, right? If this is something that I think a lot of people overlook, but I know when I was in SolidWorks every day, as an engineer for the government, I got a lot of shoulder pain because I was, mousing around all day in not just SolidWorks, but emails and this and that. And then as a musician, I'd go home in the evening and I'm, playing on the piano or playing on guitar. So my shoulder at one point, I was finishing my degree with Berkeley and Berkeley College of Music, and I actually had to take 2 weeks off of doing anything with music. Obviously, I couldn't take off of work, but my shoulder was just so sore and hurting, like in real pain. And that's from the ergonomics, moving your mouse around, right? And we know the enhancements of SolidWorks over the years. Virtually raise your hand if you know the S key shortcut. I point that out to everybody because I think a lot of people either don't know about it or forget about it. S-Key is the greatest thing, addition to SolidWorks, I think, or one of the greatest, you know, in the many years, at least I've been using SolidWorks, because being able to have that flyout menu right next to your mouse and minimizing that travel of the mouse is just, it's a health godsend, right? Like that's invaluable, right? Because, you know, that's actually has a physical impact on your body. So uh, similarly, we don't want to, you know, keep going to the compass every time we need to do a task. So that's where dashboarding is really going to help you. So for anybody that has been on the platform for a while, if you're there with experienced users, people start sending you all these dashboards like, oh, look at this dashboard, you know, pay attention to this dashboard for this project. And again, you get overwhelmed. Like, I know when I joined DS, we use the platform for our own business every single day. You know, we practice what we preach. And you know, I've got, I don't know how many dashboards, but when I first got, you know, into the company and onto the platform, and we're like, okay, we have this dashboard for this team, this one for this project, this for HR, this one. It was like, I don't even know where to look. I'll be honest, I ignored dashboards for the longest time because it was just so overwhelming. I didn't even want anything to do with it. But once I learned really how to harness the power of them, I embraced it, and now I just live and breathe dashboards, and which led to the creation of this workshop. So it's super simple. Again, let's just break it down Barney style, as we would say in the Marine Corps. So if I go ahead and this little fly out menu here, right? This is your dashboard list. So you can see I've got a number of different dashboards on this platform, but I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus sign and create a new one. So if your company has templates, you can leverage an existing template. But for the purposes of this, you're going to keep it simple. Let's just start with an empty one. So we could just call this my home, right? I have one literally I call home on our internal platform, and that's where I spend the majority of my time. I do use some of the other dashboards, but I created my own just so that way I can have the relevant information and applications that I use most often. So we'll go ahead and create this dashboard called my home. We'll close the dashboard list. So now you're like, okay, I got this blank canvas. Now what, right? What I don't see anything. What can I do with it? Well, you could do a lot. So like I mentioned at the beginning, the core apps, Swim is something, like I said, I probably spend at least 90% of my time in, because that's how I communicate with all my colleagues on a variety of different topics, projects, you know, company business, personal things, etc. So if you notice on all of these apps, and apologize because my little Zoom shortcut isn't working, but if you notice in the upper right hand corner, anytime you see this little box with an arrow at a 45, that means it's a widget, and that means it can be docked into a dashboard, which pretty much most of these applications can be. So what I can do with that is drag Swim onto my dashboard, right? And now I have it living here on this tab. And I'm just gonna do a little background because I've got many tenants that I'm on here. So I just want to give you the one that I know everybody can see. This Dassault Systèmes one is public, so that way you guys will see the same communities. So you're like, okay, I put Swim on here, but I can't see anything. Well, here's a little tip for you. Any of these widgets, if you double click the white space in the title bar, it'll kind of maximize the widget and fill up the whole this whole view here. So that's super handy. So I can come in here and I can say, okay, SolidWorks user forum, right? I'm in here like all the time. That's where I want to be. I can go ahead and set my preferences to keep that as the as the main place that I come to look at every day, right? And I like to keep my first tab, and this is just my personal view, again, because I spend most of my time here. First tab is swim, and I keep it, maximized here because I want to see the most real estate and have these conversations, and I just live in here. But to make, as we add more tabs, we're gonna need to know what is this for. So I like to name it communication because it's great for group and individual conversations, right? So that's just how I roll with it. Just a note, since we talked about kind of maximizing the widget, there's a couple of key things to keep in mind. If you see this little 4 arrows going outwards, and you can see as I hover over it, it says full screen. This will actually overtake the entire real estate inside your web browser, and you may be wondering, what the heck happened to all my tabs? Well, if you notice in the upper right hand corner, I have this exit full screen, but you can also notice up here by the compass, it says whatever app you're in. So because I went full screen with swim, that's why I see 3D swim here. If I exit full screen, now I see I'm in 3D dashboard and swim is just a widget on here, right? So just something to keep in mind if you go and click this and you're wondering where the heck, because that actually happened to me early on and I thought I was losing my mind, but it was actually I just had full screened instead of maximizing, which in addition to the shortcut I showed you of double clicking, you can actually come in this menu here and maximize it as well. But if you noticed, when I came out of full screen, right, the widget went back to its original size that I dragged it onto. You can, of course, resize any of these widgets however you like, but this is something I learned not too long ago, which I highly recommend doing, is next to each tab, you can come down here and say fit. And that will make sure that whatever you're on, if you're on an iPad, like I've got a work iPad, or an iPhone, or your web browser on your desktop, whatever widgets you have in that tab will fill the appropriate real estate. So I really love that fill feature here, or sorry, fit. I really love that because even though it has this scroll capability, again, this is just my advice from practice. If you can't see it within the real estate you're looking at, you're not going to scroll off the screen to go find it. You might as well make another tab at that point. Because if it's not in front of you, we're in the era of humanity where time is really of the essence. Time is as limited as it's ever been. So you want whatever's important right in front of you. If it's not, out of sight, out of mind, as the saying goes. So, this is just one widget, right? Again, I just wanted to keep it basic. But now you're like, okay, what else do I do every day, right? What do I really want on my homepage? Again, just to give an example of your kind of everyday designer, right? I'm working on projects. So maybe I want to create a tab called projects and tasks, right? So within this tab, I could go ahead and let's say, I'll just grab my project planner role, say, well, I want to always see what's going on with the project, and I also want to see the tasks that are relevant to me. So I want an overall view of the project and then just my tasks. Now you can do that within the project planner app itself. Let's go ahead and open the new Spaceship to Mars project here, and I'll just make this full screen for a second. I'm sorry, maximize. See, I caught myself there with the terminology, but I could come here, look at the schedule, right? And then I could come over here and look at the tasks. But again, time is of the essence. I want to minimize clicks. I want to be as productive as possible. What I can do is park this project on the schedule, right? In whatever view I like to have. I can even come here and fit this to the width. And then also have my tasks below. Now watch this trick. I showed you the fit command here on the menu. Because these are on top of each other, or top and bottom, when I click fit, boom, it just spans them all the way across. This is, again, just my personal way I like to work, but this allows me to see the whole schedule across the top and then all my tasks. And I can just be like, okay, I'm going to work on designing the rocket engine today. Bam, it's in work. I can come here, and if I need more real estate, do my double click on the taskbar, come and update my task how I need to, double click it again and go back to what my view, right? So now I have where I spend most of my time communicating with others, and then what information I need to know, just, hey, what do I need to do today? Where are we at in this project, right? What's the upcoming milestone? Testing's coming up in a couple months. We need to get this work done, right? So for me, this is a very productive way to work. Okay, now let's get to the actual design work, right? So aside from using, desktop SolidWorks, I mentioned XDesign is a great tool to enhance that capability and do some design work on the platform here. So let's go ahead and add another tab, and we'll call it Design. And in here, I can go ahead and say my X apps, as they're called. I can bring in X Design from 3D Creator, and I can bring in X Shape, which is our amazing sub-D modeling tool in here. And if you notice, I purposely put them beside each other instead of top and bottom, because now when I hit fit, I get them nice side by side, left and right, because for me, these apps, kind of work better when the real estate is more vertical than it is horizontal, like the project view. But, like anything else, you can always just kind of maximize that, spend your time in X Design doing what you got to do, or spend your time in X Shape. But at least now I don't have to go to the compass, right? I've got all my pertinent stuff that I use every day right here at the ready, whenever I need it. So you can take this, to whatever level you desire, right? That's why I recommend creating your own dashboard before even relying on utilizing other people's that they might send you, because again, it can be overwhelming. But by creating a dashboard yourself and knowing what's important to you in your day-to-day, I think will really help you not only understand dashboards, but maximize your productivity. So let's say, there's some other roles, like I want to have maybe a tab for reviewing designs, right? Doing like design reviews uh, on occasion. So I can make a review tab, and I could have things like 3D markup on here. I could have, let's say, Product Explorer on here. These are, maybe some more advanced apps you might not be familiar with yet. I could have something like issue management if I want to, take a look at different issues, maybe this issue 3D review. Now you might be asking, okay, well now, Andrew, you're getting like too complicated. It's getting to be overwhelming. And I felt the same way again when people would send me dashboards and there'd be like a bunch of different widgets on here. I'm like, I don't even know where to look. There's just like so much stuff. I can't even keep track of it all. And I'm just going to add another one for the sake of purposely overwhelming you. To me, even if I, let's say, put these to fit, right? I've got 6 widgets on here. I can't really see much of of anything on here, right? If I go to like, open products, let's just say, I want to open this like Moto knee thing. If you guys had attended World in any previous years or watched any of the virtual stuff on World, you remember this, uh, the dirt bike rider that had created his own, I guess, I don't want to say robotic, but mechanical prosthetic leg so he could continue to ride. That's what this was from. But I can't really do anything of use when everything's this small. I totally agree. But like I said, you can always expand or maximize the widgets to do what you got to focus on, like, and then bring it, bring it back. If I'm like, okay, I want to, bring this Moto knee in for a markup, right? That just allows me to navigate it, but here I can actually bring it into view. And once it loads in a second, I can do some annotations. Let's say, let's mark it up with, let's create a new markup. We'll call it whatever, Rev1. I can come in and make annotations if I want. So let's just do some basic text annotations and say improve this. I don't know, whatever we need to do, doesn't really matter at this point. But I can create my markups, do what I need to do, and then go back to whatever it was I was doing. My personal recommendation when you're building dashboards and tabs within dashboards, I wouldn't park any more than 6 widgets, right? Because you can already see this becomes like basically, I don't want to say unusable, but in these grid of 6 items, it pretty much is unusable other than me maximizing and minimizing. And I only do that because these are all relevant to each other, and if that's just my choice and I want to have all of these things relevant to each other on one tab together because I need to drag and drop between them like I just did with the Moto knee from the Product Explorer to markup, and maybe I want to put it in play or whatever, or review an issue, like I marked up an issue and then I want to see it over here, whatever the case may be. It might make sense for me to have all 6 of these things on here. Again, it's your choice, but just my fair warning, I wouldn't put, initially I used to say no more than 4, but then I came into an instance where I personally was like, I could use like 1 or 2 more, even though I know I'm just gonna maximize them every time. So I wouldn't recommend more than 6 because it's just gonna become way too, at that point, just make a new tab and park some things over there. But I think it is useful if you have like between, 2 to 6 items to be able to just maximize at will as you need to focus on something. But again, I wouldn't put more than 6, and I'd always make sure that the setting was set to fit. So, sorry, my headset went to sleep there. But I would always set it to fit. This way, if I open this same web page on my iPhone or on my iPad, all 6 of those will fit nicely in that nice little evenly spaced grid on that screen, whatever I'm looking at. I don't have to scroll off the screen to view anything. So, this is just a primer, right, to some basic ideas to be able to implement in your day-to-day. Again, you may have different roles. You may be a project manager, you may be a supply chain manager, you may be a manufacturing engineer. I don't know what your role is, but I think, these principles you could apply to whatever roles, widgets, apps you want to use in your dashboarding to really enhance your productivity. And so with that, let me go back to the presentation just to give a little review before we jump into some questions here. Let me gotta swap my display. For some reason, it always throws it over there. So what did we experience today? So we learned how to navigate the 3D Experience platform using the compass, as well as the search within the compass, favorite apps, and then of course, dashboards. Learning about those key core roles and apps, Swim, 3D dashboard. We even dabbled into a few others like Project Planner or some of the XDesign apps. So I think, most folks tend to be in the design world in the SolidWorks user group, so I thought that'd be great for you. And then of course, how do we now take those roles and apps that we use on the day-to-day and bring them into our own personalized dashboard in a way that helps us maximize our productivity, right? Your way of doing it might be slightly different from mine. That's the whole point. Personalize it to your tastes. And then don't forget about those tips and tricks I showed you. Double clicking in the white space of the title bar of a widget to maximize it as you need to, as well as the fit command in the drop down of each tab, right? Because that's going to give you filling the whole space of the tab, and it will adapt to whatever screen you're looking at it on. So as you move from a laptop or desktop to a mobile device, that experience is consistent. So with that, I'll open the floor for discussion. Let's see, we've got a couple of things in the chat here. Wow, okay, great. So do you guys have any questions or comments, or you want to see anything else? I'll leave it
I
completely up to
actually
you.
have one question.
Yeah.
Yeah, and on your dashboard, I saw something called cockpit. What was that?
Let me
On
see.
with the roles and the apps, you have in the bottom you have something called cockpit.
Oh,
Is that something? Is that just something special for Andrew, or is it?
that's a great question. You know
Thank
what?
you.
I just noticed that as well. Maybe that's something new
Okay.
that they added because I I honestly
Okay.
don't recall seeing that before. I
Okay.
just had to look because I think it might be particular to that tenant because
Okay. Of course. Of course.
yeah, because I have like a demo tenant
Mhm.
that doesn't have that. So
Okay.
but great question. I will actually follow up to figure out what that means because
So
that is good.
just out of curiosity,
Yeah,
I also just recently started learning the platform myself. So great stuff,
awesome,
actually. So,
awesome.
um,
Eh, Yeah, no, happy to help. Mohammed, you had a question?
Yeah, I used to learn like new stuff about Project Planner. I didn't use that, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm now learning about X-Shape and X-Design. Really interesting, you know. It's more easier than SolidWorks desktop.
Right, right.
Yeah, you're
It's a
gonna find
lot of
like a lot of stuff in the same place, you know.
yeah, a lot of people I think get kind of skittish or like intimidated or just maybe have some preconceived notion of like, oh, designing like in the cloud or designing on a web browser, like what. But come on, it's 2022. Anything's possible.
Yeah,
yeah.
We've seen in the last couple of years, anything's possible. Anything can
it's
happen.
possible. Yeah,
So, but yeah, I encourage anyone who hasn't checked it out, or even if you just briefly checked it out, dive a little deeper, because I know like in X design, there's a lot of it's utilizing a lot of AI under the hood to like help guide you to make better design decisions. It's like insane.
yeah, yeah.
I
Very
guess you
cool.
could say like computer assisted designing or something.
It is.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe that's a new definition of CAD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
In previous meeting, like we got Andrew. He learned us like about XE generative design.
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
you
Oh,
put
Andy
like a
Barnes, amazing.
yeah, you put a variables, you know, and the system itself is gonna make it for you, you know.
Yeah, no, totally. It's not like I don't think any designers are gonna lose their job or anything. It's if anything, it'll just
Yeah,
maybe help relieve
still
some of the
now.
stress, right? And give you more confidence going into the designs, or just get you to the end result a little bit quicker, right? And that's I think everybody's goal, right? Get products to market as quick and with as highest quality as possible. So, we got the capabilities. Why not leverage it?
Thank you, Mr. Andrew, for your presentation. Actually, it was very insightful. Just I was amazed with the rules and the all apps. Actually, I have one question. Uh,
Yep.
did you recommend? Do you recommend using browser or 3D Experience Launcher? Because
Yeah, great question. I mean, to be honest with you, I use the browser all day long. So, in fact, I know Microsoft browsers are typically like, cuss words in IT world, but I actually found a really cool way you can use Edge, which these days Edge, if you didn't know, was really just kind of reskinned Chrome. um, so that's why it actually, I guess, works now. No offense to Microsoft and their Internet Explorer days.
Uh,
But yeah, you can actually, and I do this if you look here. Let me share my screen again. I won't bring it up because it's my internal platform, but just to give you the idea, along the bottom here, you see this little compass icon? That's
oh,
actually Edge, but if you go into Edge, you can select, like, you have open a web page in Edge and go to the menu and say, make this an app. So it's basically like, I guess you can kind of think of like bookmarking a web page, but it runs nicer. It runs kind of like full screen. Um, and I just pin that to my taskbar here. So my internal platform, that's how I get to it every day. I just boom. So I have like Chrome running and 8 million tabs going left and right and bookmarks, whatever. But because that's where I have to live most of the time, I just keep that one instance of the platform pinned, and it's just running in Edge. But yeah, I use the browser all the time. I brought up this demo environment that I use for some customers, just to show you, like, again, once you get like more advanced and someone starts assigning you roles. This is like Jack Mechanical
oh my
Engineer,
God.
right? Look how many roles that's just roles. Then, like, you see how many apps are associated with all those
Yeah.
roles.
Okay.
Like, that's just insane, right? And it's like, okay, I really don't know what to do that. That's where all the tips I showed you today, creating these dashboards, you may barely ever need to go to the compass again. That's the hope, is that you can create, dashboards to, you know, do what you need to get done. And I just well, this is how the demo set comes, but I use this technique, right? Name the tab of, like, kind of what's that job you're doing, right? Simulation review, right? Product engineering, issue management, the project stuff. So I just wanted to also show that example that it can get crazy really, really quickly, right? When you start looking into all this stuff, right? It's like, I'm never gonna like scroll down. I mean, you see people these days, right? That'll go into their start menu and then applications and then the category, right? And they're finding stuff, and I'm sure you get as frustrated as I do, like, just use the search, or just make a shortcut or something.
Yeah.
Um, when there's a better way. So now you guys know a better way. So I hope you'll utilize that there.
Yeah, we really like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I see, was that Amen joined? Did you have a question? I think he's trying to find the unmute button.
Yeah.
There we
Exactly.
go.
I've got a. I like to say that I have a 6-monitor setup, so I'm trying to find a window, and I'm looking left and right.
Welcome to
I
my
just wanted,
world.
yeah, exactly. No, I just wanted to thank you for the presentation. I've been a SolidWorks user, and for most of my career, I've been writing automation for SolidWorks. And I just wanted to get more familiar with the new platform. So I wanted to join today and see what dashboards are all about. I think this is the right direction that Dassault is headed into. So we just have to embrace it, really. So thanks for the presentation, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I'm glad it was helpful, and you know, happy if you guys like have any ideas for more things you want to see, or maybe an expansion of this. You know, let me know, and I'd be happy to either come back or bring another one of my colleagues that maybe even better versed than I, which there are many at Dassault. Yeah, but you guys already had some of the key rock stars I know on your I almost said your show, but your or channel, but your group here. I'm so used to doing like YouTube on the sides. But yeah, Andy and Jordan, all those guys they're just complete rock stars. So my shout outs to them. But yeah. Anybody else have any questions for me, or things you maybe I missed, or
I mean,
no?
for the intro, I mean, it was very cool, as I said. So,
Awesome, awesome.
and cool tricks.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, and I mean, I just saw your you're not scared of the platform anymore. That's the goal. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yeah.
Because I feel you guys. I was right there in lockstep with you when I first signed on, because like kind of like how you just saw on that demo environment, there's like umpteen different roles, right?
Yeah.
I have not quite that many, but almost that many in our internal platform, right? And it goes beyond even like engineering and design, right? Because we have like, account management and HR and like the actual company stuff. So I was just like, what in the world am I supposed to do with it?
It is very scary when you look at it for the first time. So,
Yeah,
it's in your
a lot of
face like that.
tools.
Yeah, so I had to do a lot of trial and error and a lot of
Yeah.
just like, I try to keep an open mind with things. I mean, that's how I ended up getting sucked into the SolidWorks world. Was
Yeah.
I bought myself an academic hobby. I'm an electrical engineer, right? I started as an electronics technician in the Marines,
Yeah.
but I was working on managing projects and programs for the government on air traffic control systems, and I'd get drawings, little paper drawings, back from the contractors, and I would have given them literal red lines. They'd come back without my red line changes, but with different changes, and I'm like, this is terrible. And I had trained myself on SolidWorks on the side. I designed like my outdoor fireplace with the sheet metal tools that I had just used the built-in tutorials and taught myself, and was like, this is amazing. It made me want to switch my major to mechanical engineering, but I was too far along that I just, I was like, this is fun. It's better than like Ohm's law and circuits and
Yeah.
stuff. So and I mean, I was working physically on systems, so I brought, as I was doing my day-to-day job, I'm like, I know there's a better way. I do it at home, right? I've done it, at school and whatever. So that's how I brought, SolidWorks 3D modeling to the fold. But yeah, it's just fun. It's just super powerful stuff, and like, when I started playing with the platform, I'm like, okay, let's just try to break this down to the bare bones elements.
Yeah.
And I found myself repeatedly going to the compass again and again and again. I'm like, okay, I need to learn this dashboarding thing, because this is getting annoying to just keep going. Like I said, it's like going to the start menu all the time.
Yeah.
So, but hopefully that gives you guys the shortcut so you don't have to go through the trial and error that I did. That's the goal. So, all right. Well, we're at the top of the hour, I guess. If you got nothing else for me, I again just thanks so much for having me. I'm really honored to be still part of the SolidWorks community here. I love hanging out with my fellow red shirters, red team.
Sorry.
So, yeah, no, it's all good.
It was, well, I don't think anyone. Okay, so it was great.
Yeah.
Great presentation. So
Thanks again, Leonard. All right.
yeah,
Well,
I've sent you a request on LinkedIn just so you know, a heads up.
perfect. Yeah, I will
So I
accept
can
it.
try. So you can tell me that about the cockpits. I want to know what that is.
I will find out and let you know for sure.
Thank you.
All
Thank you.
right. Thanks again, Mohammed, for having me. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So I'm here. Thank you for this one, Mohammed. It was great fun.